Yo, what up? Now, when developing a Atlas strategy, my goal was to make it very similar to how I did my build guides and give you a detailed explanation of how I got my numbers and why you definitely could get more and probably have a faster character than me. But in all of these videos, I like to give you context. So the context of the character and the context of the money. Now, when I'm saying 7 divines, 8 divines, stuff like that, I am not talking about anything over here. We're only talking about this stuff right here. This is your consistency, and this is the stuff you can drop that I did drop, but I'm not going to count any of this, all right? Just so we're on the same page. So only look at this. And the context of the character is that this is a 0 to hero character. I'm doing a hardcore, deathless run that I've put restrictions and limitations on myself, and it's the same thing as hardcore. The only difference is that I'm just playing in softcore trade. So I have limitations, I have rules, and one of the rules was a proof of concept of this Atlas strategy. So the goal of it is to be very simple, and really, instead of you having to do anything difficult or really complicated, all you need in order to do this strategy, and like I said, I will be explaining in detail, different parts of this. That's what the timestamps are for. But for now, let's just establish the bare minimum. You only need 3 unlocked favorite map slots. That's it. I'd recommend either Eater of Worlds Voidstone or Searing Exarch Voidstone. It doesn't matter which one. It can be either one, whichever you like. But you do not need the Voidstone necessarily. You're just using it to try to spawn some altars to get a little bit of extra quant. And the most important thing I want you to realize is that this is mathematically 6.5 to 7 divines, depending on how much I want to sell it for. So before I do the numbers and I give you the proof of that and everything, I want you to at least realize though that I am using the bare minimum of this Atlas strategy. Because this character is in the middle of a 0 to hero run, I started this strategy as soon as I could mathematically. So if you have more Atlas points than me, you can definitely get these nodes up here and get more map duplication, which would mean you would get more maps, you get more life force, and obviously I'm not counting any of this stuff, but you would just get more of this stuff too, right? So the only variable at this point is just going to be speed. How fast is your character? That is just a core concept of PoE. This character, for context, as you can see, in the background and stuff, she's fine, but I'm manually pressing my flasks, and she's a 2-button build with, DD Ignite. So she's not nearly as fast as you definitely could be. If you just have the same speed as me, then I'm saying worst possible scenario, 6 div. Realistically, if you have a more full Atlas, 7 div at the same speed as me. And if you're a faster build, probably closer to 8 div. And obviously, like I said, we're not counting of any of this stuff that you get over here. So if you want to see how to infinitely sustain a map, go to that part. If you want the full understanding of this Atlas tree and your options, go to that part, all right? But first, let's address the numbers. So, give me a second and I'll go ahead and pull the calculator up and all that stuff. All right, so let's just look at the price of Harvest Juice. Now, when deciding to make this strategy, I wanted a strategy that could work at the beginning of the league, the middle of the league, end of the league, it doesn't matter, and it'll give you very good results. I can't tell you on day 2 how much Harvest is going to be worth, but I can guarantee that people will be buying it. Harvest, in my opinion, is the easiest and most simple, stable thing to sell in the game. It's only 3 things. It's just yellow, purple, blue, and it's very easy, very simple, right? It's unlike other league mechanics, maybe like Expedition. There's a lot of things that can go on, and if you do it poorly, you get less out of it. The only reason why I'm not making this about essences is because essences are a one-way use item, right? You can sell it or you can craft with it. But with Harvest, there's a lot more you can do with Harvest. So if you wanted to experiment crafting your own gear, things like that, Harvest has so many uses and it's very easy to sell. With essences, it comes in a lot of different sizes. They all are different prices. With this, it's just 3 prices, right? Now, currently, I'm in the middle of the Affliction League, so if you're watching this in the future, I guarantee you the strategy still works. I just can't tell you how much you're going to get per hour right now. But at the time of this recording, 1 month into the Affliction League, right now, Purple Juice can sell for 15. We're going to use 15 as the number for all 3. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you could list this in bulk for 12 or 11 and definitely sell it. But for the sake of giving you a consistent, stable, low-end number, let's just use 15. So you're just looking at numbers, 2K and stuff. This is all very low. You're just looking for like a 10K plus. Once you hit 10K, you know that this person is waiting to sell. So 13 and then 12. If you're patient, you can do 12. Same thing with yellow. We scroll 2K, 1K, that's not a lot, that's gonna sell quick. Scroll 1800, and you're just looking for like the big numbers. Once you hit the big numbers, you know, all right, 64K, so you could slow sell this at 13 or 12 and it'll probably sell in bulk. But again, we're gonna assume 15, and blue is the least expensive, but blue still sells at 15, and there's a variety of ways to use it, because crafting, but also there's scarab flipping, there's a lot, right? I'm not going to go in detail all the uses about harvest in this guide. Let's just talk about numbers, right? So we've established we can easily sell all three of these at 15 quickly, okay? Next, let's look at the invitation. Now, looking at the invitation, I went with blue. To be honest, the reason I went with blue was to lower the numbers. Red is for 3 divines, and I'll show you that in a second. But let's assume that we sold this at 1.6. We wanted to just get rid of it pretty fast. We could sell it for 1.6. So let's just do 1.6. And to give you the proof, if you wanted to do the red guy, Exarch invitations are worth 2.5. So if you wanted even more consistency and just stable numbers, you could just do the red altars and, you know, change the tree accordingly to the altar that you want. So it's really up to you. You can choose either one you want. Blue, obviously, the way blue works, it gives you more quantity more consistently, whereas red will still give you quantity, but the mods are a little bit scarier with like chaos damage, and you can't hit the big ticket, you know, divine thing. Now, if you wanted my personal recommendation for consistent numbers, I would have done red, but I know people like to do blue, so I used blue. But we've established streaming is 1.6 divines, right? So just remember, it's 1.6 divines. And maps are the other thing. People always want maps. This is just something true in PoE. Maps are always valuable, and you don't have to do Jungle, Valley, and Mesa. Again, I'll explain later on. Let's just assume you want to sell the maps in bulk at 5C each, right? I entered with 15, I came out with 20, and that's going to be a consistent stream for you. You're always going to have more maps by the end of these runs than you did when you started, especially if your atlas isn't, you know, ghetto and crappy like mine. So very simple. This is 100 chaos. Divines are at 210 right now. So this is, you know, almost half a divine. We'll say 0.4. So now let's just add it all up and then get the numbers. Plus 3551. All right. So you see we have 14,506 total, combining all 3 essences. We divide that by 15 because that's what we're selling it at. We get 967. The price of divines right now are 210. So divide that by 210 and you get 4.6 divines. And we add the value of the screaming invitation, which was 1.6. And again, like I said, we're selling all of this fairly quickly. We're not going to min-max the price. Add the value of the maps, which was 100C. And again, divines are 210. So we put 0.4 and there you go. 6.6 divines out of harvest. And I'm lowballing it. If you were to sell this at the prices I said, you know, 12 each for the juice and things like that, or bulk sold maps and trade chat or something like that for 8C each or something, you can get more. And keep in mind, I'm not talking about any of this stuff over here. We don't care about this stuff. I mean, okay, well, you do care about this stuff, but I'm not going to talk about fortunate cards, divine drops, boss maps that can get duplicated. None of this shit, of all those puzzle pieces. We don't care about any of this, right? You will get this stuff, but I don't want to give you, as, you know, maybe a newer player, inflated numbers, or be like, well, you know, more often than not, you're going to drop a fortunate card and stuff, or you're going to get an invitation. No, I think that's dumb. If you go on an unlucky streak, man, that's just not true, right? I mean, it's just PoE in a nutshell. So sometimes you get really lucky, sometimes you don't. So let's remove the luck and let's just go for the consistency, right? I'm hoping that at the end of this, you'll understand that I'm going out of my way to try to give you consistent, stable numbers. And yes, you're gonna get this stuff, right? You are gonna get a divine drop every now and then. You're gonna get these cards, but let's just remove that from the equation. I want a newer player to be able to look at this, look at these numbers and go, you know what, I'm playing a Deadeye, or I'm playing a Pathfinder, or or any ascendancy that actually has, you know, move speed and clear built into them besides a fucking DD character. This motherfucker's slow as shit. I can do this way faster. Watch this, right? And you go waggle 7, 8, 9 divines an hour, especially if you're counting the shit you're dropping. But I want to give you a stable low-end number so everybody's on the same page, and hopefully, you know, mission accomplished. If not, then yeah, I tried. Now, looking at my atlas, because it's really incomplete, I'm not going to use the in-game atlas. I'm just going to use a full complete atlas and give a better, cleaner explanation with that. All right. So here we have the quote-unquote complete atlas that I would actually recommend you do if you have the points. Now, 2 things are interacting, and if you don't know how this works, I'll explain it. If you do know how this works, then all right, why are you watching? Why are you watching this part? The core concept of the harvest strategy is wandering path. We're using wandering path. If you don't know what this does, it turns off the big nodes. So this node here, and all these nodes, none of them do anything. However, these big nodes are not considered large notables. These are called keystones. So keystones still work. It's just that the big nodes right here just don't work anymore, right? And we double the effect of the small. So turn this off, 1%, turn it on, 2%. Over here, 10% increased chance to contain a tier 3 plant. Well, with wandering path, that doubles, so now you have 60% chance. Now, what wandering path does with harvest is it means that if you're not guaranteeing harvest, and I'm not going to recommend you do that, I'm just going to recommend you increase the chance to spawn it. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the Sacred Grove, we have a 60% chance to spawn. Now, that doesn't count Stream of Consciousness, which increases it more. In my experience, I would say maybe like 8 out of 10 maps will contain the Sacred Grove, and only 2 won't, at least from my experience. I don't know why this doesn't calculate necessarily, but it does. It increases your chance to spawn the Sacred Grove. But what we're doing is we're forcing 100% increased chance to drop a connected map. Now, this will make more sense with the infinite map sustain, but basically we always want to drop a connected map. We have 136% chance to drop one map out of any map we run. Now, the idea is that we're going to want to run a jungle valley and force it to drop a mesa, or if you have a mesa, then we want it to force it to drop a jungle valley. This guarantees that when you run that map, you will get at least one mob that drops, a connected map. Now, it does overflow, so you actually have another on top of that. Once that map drops, a 36% chance to drop another map, and also we have a 37% chance to duplicate those maps. So this is how you over sustain, right? Like, you want to get that map and then you want to try to duplicate it, hopefully, and this way you always infinitely sustain, and your duplication is kind of like your more. Keep in mind, there's maps where you'll get 3 or 4 maps sometimes, but that's just like you raw dropping a jungle valley rather than it being your connected map, for example. So infinite maps, this is how we infinitely sustain our maps. Stream of Consciousness plus all of these harvest chance to spawn nodes is how we force harvest to spawn more often than not. And the reason why I say these nodes up here and stuff were extremely valuable that I don't have, this basically is quantity. So these are just, they make your map a little bit harder, but these are just quantity. If you roll a map and it's, hard, so let's say it has -9 max res, fizz damage is lightning or something like that, right? And it's like -9%. Well, when you take these nodes, it's going to make that minus max res a little bit, more dangerous. That -9 might go to -10, -11 with these nodes. And that fizz damage as lightning is going to get harder. So let's say it was 70%. Well, with these nodes, it'll probably go up to like 90, closer to 100%. But maps are linear. If you increase the difficulty of a map, the quantity and the rarity goes up too. Now, we don't really care about rarity at all. We want quantity because we want the mobs to drop more life force. Now, quantity does affect those mobs. However, Magic Find does not. So before you start getting any ideas, Magic Find does not affect the life force you drop from a mob at all. So none of your personal character's quantity matters, but map quantity does. So these nodes give you more life force. Once again, didn't have these nodes, didn't have duplication, and I didn't even have this over here to make the altar quantity double, right? Now, more often than not, what does an altar do? So it'll spawn a modifier that'll affect monsters. Sometimes it'll lower your defenses, and other times it'll make a line that says like final boss drops 4 orbs of fusing, right? Now, the goal of these two maps, Jungle Valley and Mesa, is to remove the chance of it spawning that final boss tag, right? We don't want the final boss rewards. Final boss rewards are crap. And if we eliminate the final boss at the start of the map, then for every altar you find now, it will not be able to roll a boss modifier because it doesn't exist anymore. So that's where Mesa comes in, and that's where Jungle Valley comes in. Mesa, the boss is very, straightforward. You know exactly where he is when you enter. Go in there, kill him, and there you go. So if you find the altars throughout the map, they will not roll boss modifiers, which means now it has a higher chance to roll quantity, which means you get more life force. And I mean, quantity in general is just like a good number, right? Because your chance to drop more shit. So it's nice to have, but I wouldn't overthink it. You're really just trying to get quantity, and that's that. Obviously, mentioning the red altars are more chaos damage focused and fire damage resistant. The thing about red altars is that they're more consistent in terms of giving you like chaos, regret orbs, awakening sextants. So your per map value is probably higher. However, blues can give you more quantity more consistently, and they're a little bit easier, in my opinion, to run. So your character doesn't need to be, giga tank. But the invitation is worth double, right? So make your own choice here. It's the same concept for both. The concept of infinite map sustain is called the ping pong strategy. So if you're ever watching a streamer or somebody and they say, you know, we're just doing ping pong, this is exactly what they're talking about. Now, this is a known strategy, but it more often than not usually is related to wandering path, and it's usually how people will build up a base of maps at either the start of the league or when they're switching to a new strategy. But there's a couple things you need in order to be able to ping pong. So let's just start off with nothing, right? This is a favored map slot. You unlock these by completing these, you know, challenges over here. So this first one you get for clearing a tier 16 map, so basically free. The next two unlocks that I would recommend you do are the Guardians. So Elder Guardian, this is Shaper Guardian, and this is Awakener Guardian. So Cirrus, Conqueror, they call them weird things. You can also unlock one from killing Eater of Worlds, and you can also unlock another one from Searing Exarch. Now at the time of this recording, for Affliction League, if you wanted to do, you know, Mesa and Jungle Valley, you just need 3. So any 3, and you can infinitely sustain maps now if you do exactly what I'm going to show you. Now keep in mind, you can ping pong any 2 maps in the entire atlas. Keep in mind, you can sustain any 2 maps on the atlas. You'll just need more favored maps to do it, and I'll show you how to do any 2 maps you want to do later. But for now, let's just use the core strategy, which is 3. So the favored map, what it does is very simple, right? Let's say you were like, I want Mesa maps. So you would just, you know, favor your map. Now, this is not going to sustain the map drop, right? All this is doing is increasing your chance to roll a Mesa, basically. There's a whole, like, pool of map tier 15s and stuff, but to make it very simple, basically this just means you have a higher chance of rolling a Mesa tier 15 rather than a Ivory Temple tier 15, okay? So favored map slots are good, they're just not that valuable without doing some strategies. And the strategy we're doing is shadow shaping. Ignore all of the text in the second line, third line, okay? All you care about is that very first line. Maps found cannot be your favored maps. So what is this saying? Well, it's saying that if you were to go over here and say you never wanted to drop a Bramble Valley in your life, with shadow shaping, you will now never drop a Bramble Valley. So when the map rolls and it's like, oh, Bramble Valley, oh, favored map, we can't give him that. Okay, so we'll just give him something else, right? And it'll pick something else and you'll get that map instead. Now what you can do is block maps. The core concept, right, is that we're going to drop a connected map. If I were to run a Mesa right now, it will drop a map, but I don't know if it's going to drop a Jungle Valley or a Stagnation. If I have shadow shaping and I pick Stagnation, now when I run a Mesa, it'll roll Stagnation and it's going to be like, well, he blocked that. Okay, so we'll just give him a Jungle Valley. And it has to give me a Jungle Valley now, right? Now Jungle Valley has 2 lines right here. This is how you can see what's connected to what. So Jungle Valley is connected to Mud Geyser. Well, I don't want Mud Geyser. So when it rolls, okay, there. So now it still can roll a Mesa and an Arid Lake because I haven't blocked this yet. And then once I do this one, there. Now let's say I ran a Jungle Valley, right? Okay, I ran it. The game has rolled a Mud Geyser. And it's like, this is a tier 13. And tier doesn't matter for this strategy. That is the strength of the strategy more than anything. And so it rolls at tier 13 and it's like, oh, that's blocked. And it tries to roll Arid Lake and it's like, oh, that's blocked too. Shit. And now it'll upgrade the map by 2 tiers because it has to give me a connected map. And that's how you sustain Mesas and vice versa, right? If I ran a Mesa, it has to give me a Jungle Valley. It cannot give me a Stagnation because I've blocked it with these 3. And in order to do it at the time of, you know, this recording with these 2 maps, this is where they are. And Mesa, like I said before, is a very easy map, very straightforward go. So for Jungle Valley, the map boss doesn't exist. So when you're running a alter strategy, it will never roll the boss modifiers because the Jungle Valley boss isn't spawned in yet. He literally doesn't exist when you enter the map. What you're doing is you're just running in, killing the Mesa boss, right? And that's how you know you can get your invitation real quick. And when you run a Jungle Valley, I mean, you just don't do the boss. You could just run through, look for the harvest, look for your map, and then, you know, either you leave or go back to your harvest and you're out, right? You never have to run the map boss. But your alters still gain the benefit of never having to worry about a boss roll. So in this case, Jungle Valley is extremely good, one of the best alter rolling map bases in the entire game for a variety of strategies. Now, keep in mind, like I did say, you know, we're running an alter. So every, you know, 14th and 28th map, you have to kill a map boss to get a mini invitation, right, to progress it. So keep in mind that if you're running, you know, 20 straight Jungle Valleys, one of those, you know, you need to kill the boss. You have to kill the boss at least 2 times. Or, you know, if you're obviously doing your 20 mesas, because that's kind of how ping pong works, right? If you run 20 Jungle Valleys, well, you're not going to get any more Jungle Valleys back, right? You're just going to get like 30 mesas now. So don't get caught in that train of forgetting You know, the invitations are worth money, so you should pay attention to this. You know, an easy thing to do is to just have 14 rolled maps in your inventory, and this way when you run out, you know, you're done, right? And then you can go kill the boss, and there you go. So that's how you infinitely ping pong 2 maps in Mesa and Jungle Valley and get your invitation. Now, like I said, I want to show you that you can do this ping pong strategy with any 2 maps. Now, I'm not going to do it on this character because, well, this character sucks, right? Like, 0 to Hero challenge has not been nice to me. My gear is mid, I had to craft all of it, and I don't have all my shit set up. So I'm going to switch to a character in Hardcore that actually has all this unlocked so I can show you how to do it. Alright, so this character has all but the Feared done. Like I said, we don't care about Watchstones at all. You can add them in if you want to upgrade your Mesa and Jungle Valley to tier 16, and that just makes Mesa go from 15 to 16 and makes Jungle Valley go to 16. You'll get like a slight boost to Jungle Valley, slight boost to Mesa. It just means you get a little bit extra life force. Throw in the Voidstone if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to use Sextants. You don't have to do any of that shit. Now, the next 2 maps are Cemetery and Tropical Island. And the reason I mention these is because I think these are the next 2 maps people always want. Now, keep in mind, right? This was 3. So let's count how many fucking favored map slots do we need in order to do Cemetery, Tropical Island. So we're looking at the lines, right? Connected map lines between Cemetery, Tropical Island. So Wasteful, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In order to do Tropical Island and Cemetery, which you can do, you do need 7 favored map slots. This is another reason why, as a recommendation for newer players, I'm not going to recommend you have 7 favored, you know, map slots unlocked, or, you know, more than 1 Voidstone ever. So simple, we just block all of them. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there you go. You now have guaranteed you'll drop a Cemetery and a Tropical Island. Let's say you're like, that makes sense, Waff. That's really cool. I get it and everything. I don't have a Mesa though, and I don't have a Jungle Valley. So this is what do I do, right? It's actually pretty simple. You just take this out, and then you just take this one. So what this does is it just gives you a higher chance to roll your favorite map. Now this is tedious, so you know when you switch it, you know, kind of don't fuck it up. But you would just, you know, let's say you're doing Mesa, and you would just favor Mesa with however many favored map slots you have. If you have 3, this will still work. It'll give you a Mesa, but you're gonna, you know, delete other maps. So the only map that drops now can be a Mesa, but that's it now. Keep in mind, obviously, you'll drop a Mesa after maybe 2 maps or so. You need to, you know, fix it, right? So you got your Mesa, cool. Take this out, put in Shadow Shaping back, and now you need to fix this, right? So block that, block that, block that. Now you have your Mesa, cool. And now that Mesa will guaranteed drop you your Jungle Valley, and you have started the chain. So running a Mesa, there we go, got our connected map, and we see the Harvest. So mathematically speaking, what's the best thing to do in this case? Well, it's to kill the Mesa guy and probably run around the map briefly and then go do the Harvest. And the reason is because, you know, we've just entered the map. You could still drop another map, right? So mathematically speaking, just running and doing the Harvest is probably better. But, you know, personally, I don't mind just going and clearing, you know, a couple packs of mobs. Sometimes that happens where that original Jungle Valley was not the connected map, and there you go. So now we got the extra map. It didn't duplicate, because keep in mind my Atlas is dog shit, right? I'm missing like 15% chance to duplicate a map. You won't be, because, you know, you're diligent and, you know, you actually know how to do it. And also you're not a hardcore build, so you can do stuff like that and actually take advantage of shit. Yeah, at this point, you know, go do the Harvest. Unfortunate, I couldn't click the quantity nodes. It sucks. I mean, just come in here and just, you know, do the Harvest. Alright, so same thing, running in, we want connected map. If we find altars, cool, but we're not necessarily going to run back and forth, you know, 15 times to find it. And like I mentioned, you know, this build's not the fastest in the world, but it gets the job done, at least for, you know, my project and my need. I guess one little mini advice I would mention is that if you have a filter and you only care about your 2 maps, maybe set your filter up to turn off, you know, these parks and stuff like that dropping, you know, just to make it so you don't get baited by a map dropping that's too far away, for example. There's the double maps. Waiting so I don't fucking die while recording this. Got our mesa, it duplicated, do the harvest, didn't find any altars. You know, the altars are more like a, they're a benefit, right? We want to find the altars, but you don't have to run around the entire map to take advantage of them. Every now and then, you know, you're gonna get a map that's really good, that has like 10, you know, altars that spawn or something like that. And then sometimes, you know, you get a map like this where you just don't get any altars to spawn, and it sucks, but it's just part of the strategy. You know, obviously, I did that for an hour, and my luck was pretty mediocre, but you get the point, right? At this point, I think you should have a general idea how to run this. It's very simple, very easy. The Atlas does the work for you, and that's kind of the whole point of me making this. It's just like letting the Atlas control exactly what you're getting, and then you can just pick the loot up and kill mobs. The simplest truth is that Wandering Path kind of eliminates a lot of stuff like essences. Don't do Wandering Path essences, you know, don't do Wandering Path. Maybe, you know, right now Abyss is obviously good during this league, but next league it's probably not going to be true. Abyss is going to be shit again next league. So if you're watching this in the future, I would just say if you want to add something else, add Expedition and just do Harvest. I would not really bother testing other stuff. Feel free, you know, maybe prove me wrong and come back up to you like, Waff, you're fucking stupid. Blight was insane with Wandering Path, but for my experience of playing this, I think Harvest and Expedition are the only 2 I would even bother. And to make this new player friendly, I decided to just give you Map Sustain and Harvest. And that's it. That's all for me. I gotta go back and, you know, finish this project and get her to Magic Find today and all that stuff. So, I'm gonna go do that. But you know, have a good one. See you later.